Nobody is more devoted to changing themselves than bodybuilders. These women and men will do whatever it takes to sculpt themselves, pushing themselves to the brink as they exercise every minute of every day and stick to extremely strict diets in order to look as muscular as possible. But out of all the bodybuilders out there, just who has done their job the best? These are the biggest bodybuilders to ever walk this earth. Number 15. Justin Compton. Justin Compton is a 221-pound sponsored athlete and IFBB professional bodybuilder from Kentucky. He has various competition titles under his belt, like Kentucky Muscle and NPS Nationals Heavyweight, and he's only 32. How on earth did he come to look as impressive as he does while still maintaining such a youthful look? Believe it or not, Justin started lifting weights at just 15 years old, and it was by pure accident. His parents bought them for their home, and he decided to give them a whirl. He saw results quite quickly. Okay, don't brag, Justin. And decided that he could really get involved in this whole bodybuilding scene. He found a training partner, ramped up his gym routine, and started entering amateur competitions. Like anyone in life, he had a few failed attempts when he was trying to go pro, but it all paid off. He joined the professional competition circuit and got his pro card in 2012. By the way, take a look at this image, presumably showing Justin in the best shape of his life. Some say that this image is photoshopped, while others think the guy's just this monstrous looking. But what do you think? Real image of his muscles or a bit photoshopped to exaggerate it? Like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Now it's time for the odd topic. This is Iris Kyle, well known for being the most successful female bodybuilder of all time. Winning the much coveted title of Miss Olympia a whole 10 times, it's hard to think of a single other woman in the bodybuilding game as iconic as Iris. The second youngest of 6 children, early success as an incredibly talented basketball player set her up for a life devoted to competition. After moving to California, she was overwhelmed by how many people in the area were in incredible shape, and decided she wanted to be as well. An addiction to fitness began, and she was soon scouted by a local promoter. Her legacy is totally unparalleled. These days, she's moved into business and owns her own nutritional line of food and her very own Las Vegas cafe. As always, comment down below with the hashtag OddTopic and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed on screen. Let's move on to the next one. Number 14. Morgan Aste. When you hear the words big rock, you might imagine a big, solid rock. It's the first time of today. Morgan Aste is basically that, but in human form. Funnily enough, that's what people call him too. Morgan Aste is from Clermont-Ferrand in France, and he's an IFBB professional bodybuilder. He's certainly well known for his talents in the bodybuilding world, but Morgan has also switched his career between strongman and bodybuilding. How much more versatile can this guy get? Morgan always had an excellent physique, so he decided to take advantage of it and started bodybuilding from a young age. He used to practice bodybuilding from his home with his father, then started participating in competitions from 2003. And it's clear he's pretty good at it, for he's taken out many different titles. Morgan was the France Juniors Vice Champion in 2004 in the over 75 kilograms category, and a silver medalist in the France Seniors over 100 kilograms category in 2006. When he made the switch to strongman, he was the strongest man in France in 2010 and 2013. When he's not flexing his muscles and being all big rock-like, Morgan is a technician at the pool of Val d'Allier County. Number 13. Rolly Winklaar, Caribbean Monster. We don't say this lightly, but you could almost grate cheese on the chest of Rolly Winklaar, known as the Caribbean Monster.
It's time to take shit to another level. It's game on.
Rolly was the 2018 Mr. Olympia competitor and is also a Curacao IFBB professional bodybuilder. But he didn't get these cool titles overnight. Well, kinda. He earned his place on the national stage at the 2009 NPC Arnold Amateur Championships, where he won overall. His size and condition made him stand out, and it was a sign of things to come. Rolly went on to place 7th in the IFBB debut, 3rd in the IFBB Australia Pro Grand Prix, and 1st in the New York version too. People were starting to pay attention, and he ended up with nicknames like the Dutch Beast, Samurai, and the Beast. Rolly was born in Curacao, but when his father died in a motorcycle accident, Rolly and his mom moved to the Netherlands when he was 5. He started showing an interest in bodybuilding early on, but it wasn't until his 2009 win that he burst onto the world stage. Now, the 275-pound beast, who has a competition weight of 240 pounds, is showing the world what he's made of by regularly taking out titles in global competitions. Number 12. Markus Ruhl. Do you think your shoulders are pretty broad after lifting a few cans of beans? You ain't seen nothing yet.
When he walks, he shakes the ground.
Markus Ruhl is a German professional bodybuilder who has shoulders that could barge you into next week. Believe it or not though, he never intended to have muscles as spectacular as his. He was intent on being a speedy, slight soccer player instead. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on the way you look at it, those dreams were dashed. He played high-level soccer for a German team with the dream of one day going pro, but a blow to his knee during a game dashed those dreams. During his recovery, he started training in the gym and noticed just how his body was changing with the weights. He decided that if he couldn't play soccer, he was gonna start bodybuilding. Now, he is one of the biggest bodybuilders to walk this earth. He weighs between 275 and 285 pounds, has 24-inch arms during his off-season, and a 60-inch chest. His waist is an impressive 48 inches too. Some of Markus's most exciting accomplishments in the bodybuilding scene include first place in the 2002 Night of Champions, first in the Toronto Pro in 2000, and first in the 1997 German Heavyweight Championships, where he earned his pro card. Number 11. Greg Kovacs. Even though Greg Kovacs retired as a Canadian IFBB professional bodybuilder in 2005, that doesn't mean he's not deserving of mention. He truly was one of the biggest bodybuilders ever to walk this earth. Sadly, Greg died in 2013 from heart failure. Most bodybuilders peak at around 300 pounds. They're not exactly lightweight and slender athletes. In saying that, Greg threw that benchmark out of the water by being 420 pounds in his off-season. He was 6 feet 4 inches high with 400 pounds of solid muscle. His arms were 27 inches at the peak of his career, and his legs were like tree trunks at 35 inches each. His chest was nothing to scoff at either, measuring 70 inches. Needless to say, Greg stood out next to his competitors, which meant he scooped up a ton of prizes. He won the Canadian National Championships in 1996 and competed in many IFBB events like Night of Champions and the Ironman Pro Invitational. When he retired from bodybuilding, Greg started his own business, where he coached competitive athletes to reach their goals. Number 10. Flex Wheeler. You know someone's pretty spectacular in the bodybuilding industry when the absolute legend Arnold Schwarzenegger describes them as one of the greatest bodybuilders he has ever seen. That was the reality for Flex Wheeler. Flex is an American IFBB professional bodybuilder who pretty much needs an entire house for all the awards he's won. He might even need someone to bring him back down to earth from time to time when he receives comments such as the best bodybuilder from a fellow competitor, Ronnie Coleman. Flex was a runner-up in Mr. Olympia 3 times, and he ranked as one of the best bodybuilders in the world.
I'm pumped up with the gauge, I done did it all, everywhere I go I ball.
Last year, though, his world was turned on its head. Flex had to have part of his right leg amputated in emergency surgery. He had been involved in a near-fatal vehicle accident in 1994 and has battled health issues ever since. Still, they didn't stop him from winning the Night of the Champions and Florida Cup Pro in 1996, and both the San Jose Pro and Ironman Pro Invitationals in the following 2 years. Number 9. Jay Cutler. Mr. Olympia is one of the most elite bodybuilding competitions. It's hard to enter and even harder to win. But to know that Jay Cutler has won it 4 times would make it seem like just anyone can do it. Jay Cutler, born Jason Isaac Cutler, is from Sterling, Massachusetts. He is an American IFBB professional bodybuilder and has been training as one since he was 18 years old. When he was 11, he started working in his family's concrete business, Cutler Bros Concrete, and would have surely had an affinity for carrying heavy things by then. Jay graduated from Quinsigamond Community College with a criminal justice degree in 1993. His goal was to work as a maximum security prison officer, which he clearly had the bulk for. Instead, though, meeting personal trainer Markus Rodriguez inspired him to get involved in bodybuilding, and he never looked back. His first win was at the Iron Bodies Invitational in 1993, and he won consecutive titles at the Arnold Classic in 2002, 2003, and 2004. He then placed second to Ronnie Coleman 4 times before eventually clinching the win in 2006. Number 8. Kai Greene. Kai Greene is an IFBB professional bodybuilder from America that you should feel a little bit sorry for. And that's because he hasn't quite managed to get that coveted Mr. Olympia title. Kai placed second in the competition in 2012, 2013, and 2014, but he has never quite managed to beat his opponent to clinch first place. Still, he's teased his audience about his return to the stage and even plans to enter the competition this year to show the world what he is made of. Getting to this point in life hasn't been easy for Kai. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, but was raised in foster care and treatment centers from 6 years old. Believe it or not, it was his 7th grade English teacher that saw his potential, and he was introduced to teenage bodybuilding competitions. This helped him manage some of his troublesome school behavior. The 310-pound bodybuilder has achieved a lot in his career. He won the Arnold Classic in 2009, 2010, and again in 2016.
Of what you want to accomplish in your life is very, very important.
He was also sponsored by Flex Magazine, launched a supplement brand and training program, and received sponsorship from Riderwear. And guess what? He pretty much has an English teacher to thank for all of it. Number 7. Phil Heath. If you were going to compare Arnold Schwarzenegger to any other bodybuilder, you couldn't help but think of Phil Heath. This 7 times Mr. Olympia winner is a champion in more ways than one. He placed first in the competition every year from 2011 to 2017. And those 7 wins put him on par with Arnold for the 3rd all-time number wins behind Ronnie Coleman and Lee Haney. These 2 bodybuilders both have 8.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Olympia, Phil Heath.
In saying that, that doesn't mean Phil won't ever be on par with Ronnie and Lee. He sat out of bodybuilding in 2018 to reset and refresh and planned to make a comeback in 2019. However, now he's thinking about making a return to get that coveted 8th win this year. Phil's nicknames in the bodybuilding world are The Gift and The Next Best Thing. He was a bit of a late bloomer in the bodybuilding world and didn't enter competitions until 2002. But by 2005, he had won the NPC USA Championships, which allowed him to go pro. He won 2 IFBB Pro events the following year. Number 6. Dexter Jackson. Dexter Jackson may be retiring as a professional bodybuilder this year, but that doesn't mean he still isn't one of the biggest bodybuilders to ever walk this earth.
I just keep getting better and still winning shows, so there's no reason for me to retire.
In fact, there are plenty of exciting things to know about this guy from Jacksonville, Florida. Dexter has been bodybuilding for that long that he has more professional bodybuilding titles than any other person in the industry. The American-born IFBB bodybuilder has won the Arnold Classic 5 times and then came second in the final time he entered in 2015. He also won Mr. Olympia in 2008. He plans to go out with a bang, for Mr. Olympia 2020 will be his final on-stage performance. This 215-pound powerhouse, known as The Blade and DJ, has plenty of accolades under his belt to show his career has been worth it. He is the 5th oldest bodybuilder to win the Open IFBB Pro Show at nearly 50 years old. He is also one of only 3 bodybuilders to win both the Arnold Classic and Mr. Olympia. Dexter will be sorely missed, that's for sure. Number 5. Kevin Levrone. Most people know Kevin Levrone for his music and blogging. Still, it's also extremely obvious just by looking at him that he also dabbles in bodybuilding. Okay, so more than dabbles, he is one of the biggest bodybuilders ever to walk this earth. Kevin got into the competition world of bodybuilding at a young age, and he was inspired to be the best.
Because I believe that I can do it, and I'm going to show you that I can do it.
He had plenty of drive and determination and grabbed every opportunity with both hands. That served him well because he was considered one of the best bodybuilders of the 1990s. He has won 23 pro shows and has competed in 68 IFBB professional contests. He has never won Mr. Olympia, but his other wins are nothing to scoff at. In 2016, when Kevin was 52, he showed the world that he still had what it took to be the best. He stepped onto the Olympia stage and didn't disappoint with what his bod still had to offer. People will forever know Kevin as the bodybuilder who held the record for the most IFBB wins until Ronnie Coleman stole the title in 2004. Number 4. Shawn Rhoden. Shawn Rhoden is one of the biggest bodybuilders to ever walk the earth, and that's no understatement. He weighs between 240 and 260 pounds, stands at 5 feet 10 inches tall, and is a pure Jamaican muscle machine. Shawn started bodybuilding in 1992 after being inspired by Mr. Universe, Yanni Schamburger. He won his IFBB Pro card in 2010, even after a tumultuous amateur career involving injuries and alcohol dependence. Still, he fought through to place highly in Mr. Olympia year after year, until eventually taking the win in 2018. He became the oldest bodybuilder to win the title at 43 years, 5 months, and defeated the 7-time Mr. Olympia, Phil Heath. Shawn also holds many other titles, such as first place in the 2014 IFBB Australian Pro and IFBB San Marine Pro, and first place in the 2012 IFBB British Grand Prix. Shortly after winning Mr. Olympia, Shawn was involved in quite serious allegations that saw him arrested and charged in 2019. He was banned from the 2019 Mr. Olympia and future Mr. Olympia events too. In saying that, the governing body of IFBB said they wouldn't be taking action until they gathered more information on his situation. Number 3. Lee Haney. There are very few people in the bodybuilding world that compare to Ronnie Coleman, but you'll surely realize that Lee Haney is pretty up there. Lee is a former IFBB professional bodybuilder from America who started bodybuilding in his teens. That's also when he started winning titles.
So we have quite a beautiful history together.
By the time he was 23, he had finished third in his Mr. Olympia debut, then took his place on the IFBB Mr. Olympia throne the following year. There, he would stay for 8 titles. But he wasn't just a master of the Mr. Olympia stage. Lee also achieved much more. He was the NPC overall champion in 1982 and a heavyweight champion in the IFBB World Amateur Championships too. Lee, who was born in 1959 and became a household name in 1979, didn't even stop bodybuilding until the early 1990s. By this time, he had racked up dozens of titles. The 260-pound legend is a bodybuilder that many young bodybuilders aspire to be like. The 60-year-old born-again Christian is no longer in the bodybuilding scene, but he has a degree in youth counseling, a wife called Shirley, and 2 kids. They live in Atlanta, Georgia. Number 2. Dennis James. When you're the son of an African-American GI, it's kind of expected of you to do great things with your life. Fortunately, Dennis James did. Dennis Tyrone James, a retired IFBB pro bodybuilder, started his career in bodybuilding when he was 18. He won the International South German Championship in 1985, the International German Grand Prix the following year, and the New York State Championship All-Junior category too. Because he didn't hold German citizenship, even though his mother was German, he wasn't eligible to join the German Nationals. As a result, he stopped training and didn't get back into bodybuilding until he left Germany in 1990. Then, he well and truly earned his nickname of the Menace. He came back to place 11th in his first Mr. Olympia, then competed in 7 more to achieve 4th as his best result.
Over and over again. Best of the best.
The 258-pound bodybuilder retired from his career in 2012, but that doesn't mean he's not relevant. People still remember him from fitness and bodybuilding articles, and he's also appeared on the cover of the popular Flex magazine. Today, though, you're more likely to find him living his best life in Phoenix, Arizona. Number 1. Ronnie Coleman. 2 words. Ronnie Coleman. Nuff said. This man is a legend, and there are very few other bodybuilders with bodybuilding titles to compare. The 55-year-old Monroe, Louisiana man has won Mr. Olympia 8 years in a row and is considered one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. He has 26 IFBB professional titles and a running record of first places in various events from 1990 until 2007. Ronnie even has a filmography of which he can be proud, with 8 different movies and documentaries about his life from 1998 until 2018.
Be at the top, the best in the whole world. You can't get no better feeling in the world than that.
This 320-pound bodybuilder is a force to be reckoned with. He's 5 feet 11 inches, has a 60-inch chest, and even his arms are an impressive 24 inches. During contests, he weighs around 300 pounds. Believe it or not, Ronnie didn't rise to the top at speed. He took his sweet time. He didn't even rank in his first Mr. Olympia appearance in 1992 and placed 15th 2 years later. It took him several years of fine-tuning his physique before he eventually nabbed that top spot. Ronnie retired from the pro world of bodybuilding after powerlifting took a toll on his body. As you can see, it's entirely possible to get abs you can nearly grate cheese on. It just takes time. If anything, bodybuilding can be worthwhile just so you can open your own pickle jars. What's the heaviest you can lift? Do you even lift, bro? Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time.